Hello, welcome to another episode of Last Week in Denmark podcast. I'm Katie, and today I'm hosting a podcast with the wonderful Kalpita. How are you
Hey,
doing?
Katie, I'm good. It's our first time. So lovely.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm so excited for our first podcast episode together. So
indeed.
let's jump in. What are we talking about today? We're looking at number one, a movement is born, the Forgotten Gold, which I think we both will have a huge amount to talk about. Number two, we're going to be talking about the 20% tariffs on EU products imported to the US, not the yes, the latest brainchild of the wonderful Mr. Trump. And number three, talking about how if you change your insurance company every 3 years, you can avoid overpaying needlessly. So, for the first topic, a new movement is born, the Forgotten Gold. This is coming from a coin that was termed, I think, maybe 2 years ago, and it's re emerging at the moment about basically Denmark has a number of initiatives to bring in more international workers to Denmark, which is great news, but it's kind of ignoring the already highly skilled workforce that we have here. It's not kind of ignoring it, it's completely ignoring it. So this kind of idea that there are a lot of highly educated people who have moved to Denmark, they've integrated with society, but they are feeling left out, frustrated, unable to progress in their own jobs or find work really as well that can work for them and any partners that have come with them to Denmark. And I think what'll be really interesting about this, for us to talk about this together, is you're obviously in Copenhagen and I'm in Aarhus,
hmm
but well, I feel like we're going to have a very similar feeling about this term, the forgotten gold. What's your experience?
Without going all negative and super doom and gloom about this topic, because it is in most scenarios, whether it's Aarhus, Aalborg, Copenhagen, especially. The forgotten gold. I've had friends who I knew from India, and I have friends who I made in Denmark, coming from different backgrounds. Some of them are here for PhDs, some have come under Erasmus, some have come as accompanying spouses, and they all have had some or the other trouble in the realms of discrimination, doing jobs that are not something they're educated in or have the experience in. And some have just simply been extremely disappointed because maybe they got a master's here, say in food science, and this person became a food scientist and had a really, really hard time to find a decent job. Worked part time in a cafe as a barista and then did an internship on the side to keep the knowledge fresh and right
Mm.
out of university. And that was sad because this person had to go back, and then it does feel like you're sort of dropping the penny in some sense. You're just forced to quit a journey that you have started with such great ambition. Um, but it just has to be a sad ending, one that you didn't choose or voted for either.
It is. It does give feelings of settling because, in the sense of like, you move to Denmark. Obviously, there's great welfare systems. There's a lot of wonderful things about this country, but it is a case of, oh, if I want to stay here, I need to work. I need an income. But I think you wind up either not getting work, spending a long time looking for work. I know not my friends personally, but kind of in the different international groups for Aarhus, there are people who are looking for 9, 18 months to find work within their field in any kind of work, whether that's an internship or a full time role, and just not really getting anywhere, or similarly, kind of if they want to change career,
hmm
being very, very stuck. Because obviously, if you don't, even if you do have the language, you don't have it the same way Danish people do. So it's a bit of like, oh, you've gone through all this effort to learn the language, but you're not going to speak like a Danish person. So it's not really the Danish that they're looking for. Particularly in my work, it's customer facing. And I know whenever we're recruiting, we do need someone to be a native Danish speaker, because the people who don't want to speak English want to speak to a native Danish person. And there's kind of a trust piece
hmm
there. That's not right. But at the same time, you know, if we want to build that trust with our customers, that's what those customers are looking for. But then you see all these like highly qualified international people, and you're like, sorry, you're not going to fit in this particular place. And it's, I think in always they've just gotten a huge amount of funding to bring more internationals in. So kind of over the next 5 years to introduce a number of initiatives to make Aarhus more attractive for internationals to stay here. But it is a case of like, okay, you can get them here for sure because it's a lovely place full of lovely people, but how are you going to get them to stay if there's limited job opportunities or limited growth opportunities, or even simple things like, where are their children going to go? Do the children have to, if they're 10, 11 years old, do they now have to learn Danish to be able to integrate into society? They kind of do, because otherwise they're going to meet the same limitations at every stage within growing up, whether that's in university or working, or the different opportunities that they're going to be limited to. So it's nice to see that this initiative is here, but how realistic is it when those values of like kind of the homogeny within Danish society of like, oh, we're the same and we all think the same. Oh, but people are coming from the outside. Do we trust them the same way? Or even I know even in my workplace, the company language is English, and it's kind of brought up a lot of the time to try and minimize speaking Danish. And that's purely from a workplace point of view, in the sense that we're all working with the same customers. So if we're all speaking about the same customers, it should all be in the same language so we can help each other. And then sometimes, obviously, they do slip into Danish, which is absolutely fine, but it means some of us could be missing out key information. And then there is kind of an attitude of like, no, we want to include you, so we should speak English. And I was like, that's very nice. But actually, the company language is English, so we should be speaking English when it comes to work. So I think there needs to be more of an attitude shift before all of these kind of initiatives are going to really have a good effect. And we're just going to wind up in the same, people come over, they get started, it's all lovely and exciting, but then it's difficult to integrate, difficult to settle, difficult to make friends, difficult to move, or even get work in some cases.
Yeah. I can speak from my own experience. I didn't come here as an accompanying spouse or for education. I simply came here because I was in love. I found this wonderful
Oh, that's
I
cute.
found this wonderful Danish man who I thought I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. And thus we got married and I came here. And then I discovered that everything's rosy until you get into the job market, which then starts defining your worth, defining who you are, and for how long you're going to be here. And I totally understand people who get an education here would like to have a job here, obviously, and many others who come as accompanying spouses and for whatever other reasons. And I'm specifically speaking about those coming out of the EU. And that's not because I want to throw any shade to those coming from EU or say that they have it easy. I can only speak
We do have it easy. You can say that. We do have it a lot easier.
um, because all those non-EU people I have met, men or women, have a common thing, and that's not really integration. Everyone makes an effort to learn the language, use the language, and do as much as they can to integrate in the culture, and expand their boundaries to becoming more open minded, to welcoming the culture and all of that. But what really, really determines everything for these people is the job. Because if you have a job, you have a future, and future does not necessarily mean that they will stick to Denmark for the rest of their lives, but it means that they are able to build a secure financial future, which is very, very essential. Whether you're a man or woman, um, your financial security for the future is important, especially in the times that we're living in, and not just the Danish economy, given that we are in some billions of surplus for this year. But no matter where you are and where you come from, that financial security becomes absolutely everything. And in modern days, and I say modern days because I've been here for about 8, 9 years, and initially we didn't really have such a robust AI system or softwares that vetted CVs and things like that. More than the attitude change, I think it is also having this openness to people, which are non-Danish,
Mm.
and openness to the idea that every person that comes on your desk as a recruiting manager or the hiring manager, whether you're hiring for your own team or for someone else's, that people who come on your desk as their CVs or cover letters do have um, the will and the need for this job. I mean, there is nobody as motivated and as eager to prove themselves than an international living in Denmark wanting a job. And that unfortunately, and I would dare say no Danish person will have, because they have the security of a kasse, they have the security of dowping, they have a security of any other social security that they can get. They also have parents here, they have family here, they have a security net if the government is not going to, look out for them. But that an international doesn't have. They've left home, they've tried to create the reality here. And I think it is a bit unfortunate that an international has to go through the hardship of basic things. I don't think it is integration at all or a language barrier. People actively go and pay for that Danish education because it's not free anymore. So it is a bit rigid. And I think this idea of sorry, I am on a rant here, I realize, but it
You're good. No, go. You're so right, though.
this idea of having people retaining talent and inviting highly skilled professionals is only very poorly limited to IT professionals. And there is also a bias within that recruitment as well. So any IT person is not really standing a chance in that recruitment pool. It is very specific nationalities that get the most preference. And then if you don't fit in that pool, but you are, by the way, having the qualifications, then you might be considered. So it is not super clean, I would say. It is also not about only um, highly skilled professionals, because that's just limited to IT. And now they are opening new nursing training centers for Asians who are interested. I know there's one happening in India and there's one happening in I want to say Philippines, but I could be wrong, but one other Asian country as well. And they want to train those to come here and take the jobs. So which I understand, it is a profession that you need a background in, and I respect that. I want to be treated by a very qualified and well trained professional if I am in a hospital not able to care for myself, and I would like that security for my family as well. Although I don't see why every international that comes into Denmark needs to clean toilets or pack
Mm. Work in a
yeah,
hotel
work in a
or
restaurant,
warehouse or
yeah,
coffee house.
and clean Bella Center, or pack something or deliver Volt orders or Just Eat or whatever it is, because that is very, very discouraging. It's demotivating. And I mean, let's not even begin talking about auto rejections that come at on a Sunday at 5 p.m. in the evening. Those are just, or rejections that come in 2 hours after sending your CVs, because there's clearly a bias there as well. Um, Not just it doesn't make a difference if you don't have a picture on your CV. It's just, it's ridiculous. And I think Denmark is not looking inwards. Denmark is looking outwards, which is not the solution for them. Even if we have a great economy right now, um, we do have this 20% tax that's coming from Mr. Trump, which is, um, although I don't think that's really going to be such a big detrimental thing for us, because we are EU and we are quite good at what we do, and that's free trade and keeping our economies great. But that forgotten gold extends to the EU as well. Like in Denmark, we're looking for German speakers, but Germany is also looking for
Mm.
workforce, and so is France and Italy and other economies in the EU as well. So I think EU has a problem, and that problem is bias that they are not ready to accept and look inwards to solve, really.
It does feel very like we'll do you a favor and let you work here,
Yeah.
and you should be so lucky, as opposed to we want you here and we want your unique expertise or your unique experience to contribute to it. But anyway, we've gone on a bit of a rant there, and as you mentioned, these lovely tariffs that Mr. Trump has brought our way. So let's move on to topic number two, which is there's going to be 20% tariffs on EU products imported to the US. So Mr. Trump has lost his mind. I think he basically went on like the lawn of the White House and just started shouting out tariffs to places where there were no people. And as well, kind of really going at it for I think it was Thailand, Vietnam, and China have crazy tariffs. But for us in the EU, it's going to be 20% tariffs on anything that's imported into the US. um, and I think the stock market was looking a bit crazy towards the end of the week, and will continue to look that way into the next week. What are you thinking about the latest development in the Trump saga?
I mean, I think everybody just needs to really relax when it comes to Trump these days. Everyone is really sick and tired. At least I am sick and tired of Trump this, Trump that. Now he did this, now he did that. And now JD Vance is taking some of the clout, and Elon Musk was taking some of the clout as well. And it's great. I think they are an fabulous study in how to keep yourself in the conversation, no matter how incredibly unhinged they are. I think that works in their favor as well, because they are able to bring world leaders to the table and have a negotiation starting point, no matter how ridiculous that is. But Trump's tariffs, I don't think is going to be such a radical thing. I mean, the recent financial crisis, so to speak. This isn't. I don't think it will be a financial crisis at all. Um, since the crash happened back in 2007, 8, and COVID, the market has dropped about, I don't know how many thousand points. And I know that DAX, which is the German market, has fallen 2,000 points, which is also quite a lot. And that will continue to fall for maybe a couple of days, couple of weeks, we don't know. And these things you cannot really predict, because it is the sentiment and it is the market, and depends how each person sitting behind the mouse is clicking and what they're going through, and how that collectively results into the market, which is completely unpredictable. Although we will recover from this, we have recovered before, and we have only become better and better from there. I think this idea of tariffs is only going to make all economies more and more self reliant, which we already are. I mean, we have Volkswagen, we have Mercedes, we have Novo Nordisk, we have Maersk, we have all these big companies that still exist. We have SAP in Germany, and SAP has done even better than Novo Nordisk and other companies that we think are doing better. So it's not at all that it's all that doom and gloom and it's going to be such a big radical thing. um Although that doesn't mean that we abandon American products. It's fine to have a Coca-Cola, it's fine, I mean,
I tell you, do you want to know a fun fact about Coca
tell me.
Cola? So the plant where there's that make the secret ingredient for Coca Cola is in Ireland. So every Coca Cola you have in the EU, the secret ingredient comes from
Well,
Ireland.
there you go. So I think
There you go. It's in a secret location. They wouldn't tell me where it was. Which fair? I can't
yeah,
be
sure.
disapprove.
But although, how big is Ireland anyway, if you have to go and explore and find where this factory is? If
Okay, that's a very fair point. I could if I tried. They did tell me which county it was in.
Okay, I
Okay, I
mean, you
accept.
have a starting point there. But see,
Yeah.
that's the point, right? There are so many layers and so many aspects to this. I do not believe for a second that we are going to be in a crisis that we cannot get out of. I mean, we are in a surplus.
Mm.
If there's any good time, it is now to prepare for said crisis, if at all it has to come, and to prepare for any future that we foresee that's going to be detrimental to the economy and the safety of where we exist, which we're already doing. We have crisis preparedness going on. We have war
Mm.
preparations, defense strategies going on. We have so many allies that are coming to the table, having conversations. Our king and queen are going to France, building relations and strengthening relations. Meta Frederiksen has gone to Greenland, so things are happening, and I think it's just a matter of time and holding to your seat tightly and just taking a deep breath, and we're going to be fine.
I absolutely agree. It is very much feeling like the drama queen in the States is screaming the loudest and then trying to get all the attention. But as you say, like I think even on this podcast, we've covered over the last few weeks how Europe is pulling together to make itself more self reliant. And it's kind of giving me Brexit vibes of a sense of there's going to be a big change
Hmm.
here. Things are definitely going to change. There's going to be a lot of news. It's probably quite unsettling. But at the same time, we will get through it. I do think, and I think in a number of articles, experts seem to be thinking the US is going to be hit hardest by this because if you're putting all these tariffs onto all these countries, these products are still going to be imported. They are still in demand. That cost is going to be passed on to the consumers in the US. So I completely agree that I don't think we're the ones who are going to be affected. And I think it's just looking for attention. I think there was one article I was reading before jumping on the podcast that was basically like, if you have investments, ignore the news for the next little while. It will sort itself out, but it's going to get worse before it gets better. And I think that's the best advice I've heard in a long time. And I think in general towards the US, I do wonder some days how much inspiration we're getting for future Disney villains from this whole setup. Like, will we have like a board of supervillains coming up in a movie sometime soon?
Well, that would be
Um,
one of the most iconic male Disney villains we would ever have. With I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a apple head or something with orange. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Like really painfully specific.
Hmm.
I was watching The Incredibles yesterday and Syndrome, I don't know if you remember, he was very loud, he had a lot of money, but he just wasn't very good at anything. And it really reminded me of someone with the large orange hair.
Yeah. I read there were two things that I found very interesting. There was one economist, a Chinese economist, who said that well, he can do that if he wants to, and that's not really going to shake us. Good for us because most of things that we get are from China. So maybe expect your Apple phone to be very expensive. And then you can just save for 2 years and get the new one 2 years from now. And I mean, it anyway costs like what, 8, 10,000 right now. So it's probably going to cost you 12, 15,000.
It's
So yeah, it's
crazy.
insane.
I'd be so afraid walking around with something that expensive.
Yeah, but then good for Samsung and good for all other Asian manufacturers,
Mm.
Panasonic or whoever else makes their better phones. Maybe there's an era coming where Apple doesn't get sold so much in Europe, and then it just becomes a luxury where you have to stand outside in queue like LV or whatever. Having said that, this economist said that yeah, that's fine. It's okay. America is going to have more and more expensive Chinese goods, and that's fine. But that doesn't stop our production because China is so good at doing certain things that there's nobody as better in the world right now. They are developing things in India. They're developing things in places like Bangladesh and the Middle East and some other Asian countries. But China is China, and that's not going to change anytime
Mm.
soon either. And the other thing was that I also read. I don't remember what outlet it was, but there's this very very small African country that is the most taxed. I think it's 33% or something like that. And
Wow.
they are an extremely poor country. They like literally have a almost non-existing economy. And the only thing that works for them is that they mine diamonds.
Hmm. Okay.
So luxury is going to be even more expensive because if you want diamonds, I wouldn't be surprised if they were still blood diamonds though. Then Americans just pay more for more diamonds, I suppose. But then we have Pandora, who is making lab grown diamonds, which
Mm.
is clearly the future anyway. And there's nobody as sustainable as Europe is. So
Yeah, we'll make a good
yeah,
future,
yeah,
and
yeah.
America will just
Yeah,
destroy
I'm quite
itself.
certain. I mean, Europe has recovered faster than most economies, even after COVID, after the crash. So we're okay. We just need to stick together just as we do.
God, we're great. Anyway, on to topic number 3. So this is changing your insurance company every 3 years to avoid overpaying. This is a major report that's been done in Denmark on insurance companies. And what they've found is customers who stay with the same insurer for years often pay hundreds more than those who switch to new ones. So I suppose it's something that I think has been going on in a lot of Service providers in the sense of not rewarding loyalty with customers and kind of just trying to make the most market grab possible. But to see it in black and white in a report to say, if you stay with one insurance company, you will pay hundreds more every year. Whereas if you just switch like from one insurance company to the other with the same coverage, if you're doing that every 3 to 5 years, you're going to save money 100%. Um, yeah, it's I know it's capitalism and, what do we expect? But at the same time, it is just like, oh, there's no such thing as reward for loyalty anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing. I think it's just rubbish that you have to keep changing your services. That's just, I mean, come on, we're in 2025. We live in a digital world and we shouldn't have to do that. Also, I totally understand it's a question of competition and it is a business at the end of the day. I totally get that. But we are in a digital world, so it's not that hard to really change your service. It's just a matter of calling one service into another, saying, "Okay, I want to be your customer now," and they will do the rest. You literally have absolutely nothing to do other than just call the insurance company you prefer this time and say, "Okay, I'm going to be your customer," and then call your old insurance, for example, and say, "Okay, ciao, thank you very much, and I'm transferring to this. Please make sure you give them everything that belongs in my name," and that's it. And you let your bank know that, okay, I've done this, and they will take care of that as well. So two phone calls, three phone calls, maybe, or an email, not even a phone call if you don't care enough to pick your
That's
phone.
true. I think sometimes when you like go to cancel something, it'll automatically try and give you a discount to keep you. I find it quite counterintuitive. So I work as a customer success manager and what for a SaaS company, and what we're told time and time again, and we have the same counterintuitive nature where it's like retaining an employee or a customer is much cheaper than getting a new one. And that's just common sense. Obviously, you know this customer, you want to keep them, they're happy with your service. What you have to do to keep them is so minimal. But at the same time, then they're like, give someone else a bigger discount because they came brand new. So it's exactly the same thing. And they just have to do something so small to keep those customers. And that's like, just don't change the price. Make a slight increase to keep in line with inflation. So you're not losing money over time. But this kind of that you could be losing hundreds of kroner. It's
I
crazy.
hope the government is listening as well because that also applies to getting new talent in instead of using the existing talent we have in the market.
Yes.
Yeah, you
Oh my God, full
you
circle.
literally have to do the smallest of thing to keep the people that are already there, but they cannot be bothered.
Yeah, they'll talk about it. They'll talk about how
Yeah,
important it is. And God, oh, if only we could keep them. If only we could keep our
yeah,
customers. And then they just don't do anything
yeah,
about it.
exactly.
They're like, oh, they don't want to pay more money.
Yeah.
Crazy. Or we'll wait till they're unhappy and then we'll do
Yeah.
something.
But the funny thing is, I maybe this is only unique to insurance because I have kept my phone service as is for so many years, and my husband has it even from before we got to know each other. And by far, it's the cheapest service we have received from anywhere, absolutely anywhere. They will also call us several times, offering, "Oh, we have a cheaper one for you," and then I'm like, I kind of have the cheapest, unless you're going to do something better than this. Like, are you going to offer me less than 100 kroner? Then you've got me. Tell me where to sign. But then I kind of pay a tiny bit more than 100 kroner for my service. So I don't understand what could get more cheaper. So I hope insurance companies pick on that. Although insurance is lucrative business, so it makes sense that their prices fluctuate.
I was going to say a special kind of evil overlord, but yes, agreed.
I think we've been down the negative ride a lot today, calling people names and stuff. But
Yes.
yeah, it is. I mean,
I do like to call people names, though. That's my expertise.
although I mean they are legendary and being the evil business. So I feel sad for them, but then they also make all of my money. So
Yeah, they must be onto something if they're
yeah,
making all the money. And I do have insurance. I am paying into the insurance, but I don't like it.
yeah. I mean, it's the same with ACAS, right? Because they're also an insurance, sort of an insurance
Hmm.
format as well, and your professional unions as well are sort of insurance companies where they'll offer you, oh, you get a free lawyer, but how many times are you going to use this free lawyer? I would hope that you never have to use this professional lawyer to get out of any kind of professional soup. That would just be so unfortunate. But how many times do people
Mm.
use it, and how many times is someone going to use that advice? So literally paying almost 1,000 something kroner every month to be part of this, to have absolutely little to no reason to go and get that money back, and they don't give you your money back. They're the most evil of the evil, so to speak, because you don't get your money back. You can pay to a caser for the rest of your professional life, and you will never get your money back unless you, of course,
Mm.
go out of job, and then they're entitled to pay you, which is why you pay them this subscription of 1,000 something every month. Do you have a caser?
Yeah, it is just paying for peace of mind. I do,
Okay.
but I feel a lot of comfort having it. So for now, I'm happy about it. But I think I will definitely start to feel it when I go 3, 4 years if I don't become unemployed. Be like, oh, I'm still paying for this. What am I getting out of it?
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, you've been paying for so many, whatever months, years you've been paying. And luckily, touch wood,
Mm.
you're not getting out of a job, and you had never have been. So you never had to use it. So they have all those, I don't know, 12,000 per year minimum money from each individual. So show me my money.
Yeah. Imagine if they did give it back. That would be nice. I don't think that would ever happen. But sure, look.
I mean, that would be one way of retaining your customers, but hey.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, we've covered all the topics for today. So thanks so much for joining me, our first podcast. I think it went great. What do you
I
think?
think it was amazing. Love the banter.
God,
I think we should
fabulous.
do this more
Yeah.
together. Yeah.
Oh my god, we're very fun. Absolutely. We'll look at the schedule after this. But thanks so much for your time. And until we meet again, talk to you soon.
Likewise, Katie. Bye bye.